Czech Dark Lager is a hard style to pin down. It's not quite a German Dunkel and it's not quite an English porter. It's somewhere in between. I'm going to brew one up and we're going to talk about grain mills.
Small talk, fast car with the brakes off. We don't need to see that far. Yeah, I see you're a hot thing. I know I'm an option. It ain't gonna break my heart.
So as has become my custom now for brewing these Czech beers, the base malt is Bohemian floor malted Pilsner malt. I'm using 6 pounds of that. Then for specialty malts, I have 1 pound each of Victory Malt and Caramunich I. And then to get that dark colour, I'm going for an SRM of around 30. So to get that, I'm using 12 ounces of chocolate malt. That is going in with strike water at 152 Fahrenheit. I'll mash for 60 minutes. Ultimately, we're looking to get a 4% ABV beer from this brew. This is my grain mill. Now, the way I see it, there are 2 advantages to having your own grain mill as opposed to using one in the homebrew shop. The first of those is that you can go out and buy unmilled grain and just store it in your house. So for example, I'll often go out and buy a big old sack of base malt, like a 50 or 55 pound sack. It's much cheaper to do that, and then I just kind of, measure it out and use the amount I need, and then I can crush it in here. The second aspect to this is you can control the actual size of the crush. So if you go to a typical homebrew store, you get whatever the mill is set to. This allows me to set my own, and let me show you how to measure that. Hold on. So I have these calipers here, and what these calipers allow me to do is measure the gap between these rollers here in the mill and to set it accordingly. Now, my system, the Unibrow system, recommends a mill size of 0.045 inches. So I can take my calipers, set that exact measurement, and then I can use this to exactly get the right measurement between these rollers here. So I've got that sort of pretty tight to this, and then that gives me the crush size that I think is optimal to my system. Now specifically, this is a Monster Mill 2 grain mill. I don't have experience with any others, but this one was reviewed quite well. It has 2 rollers in here. You can get some that actually have a 3rd roller as well. And the way that it's turned is through this crank here. Now you can get a handle and manually crank it yourself. I am far too lazy for that, so I have been using a drill. Now, initially I used this cordless drill to turn the mill, and well, at first it did a reasonable job, but crushing grains is not for the faint-hearted of drills. And what ended up happening is after 2 or 3 batches, this ended up really burning out. There would literally be smoke coming out of the drill. So I no longer use this, and I have instead gone with a corded drill. This is a 9 amp drill, much more power, and this really works well. I particularly like this handle here, so I can connect this to the drill, hold onto the handle to stop this guy turning, and then operate the drill.
Though my world seems to spin recklessly.
Hops-wise, it's Czech Saaz hops, both for bittering and for flavor and aroma. So 2 ounces are going in at 60 minutes. 1 ounce going in at 15 minutes. the beer is going to go into my beer fridge, my chest freezer, where I'm going to cool it down further because it's nowhere near where I want it to be. I want to get it to around 50 or 55 before I add the yeast. The yeast will be WLP 830. And in fact, I used WLP 830 for the beer I made last week as well. And what I ended up doing was just making a 2-litre starter and splitting it. So this is the second half of that starter. It's been sat in my fridge like this for an extra week. So I'm going to warm this up to wake it up. I'm not going to do any sort of vitality starter, but I'm just going to pitch it directly once the wort reaches about 50 or 55 Fahrenheit.
Now to do the beer tasting.
Excuse me, sir, I don't think you're 21. Out.
Come on.
Bye.
Okay, so you ready for this?
Yes.
Now, this, of course, is the dark lager that, if you watch one of my previous videos, you will know it froze. The reason it turns out was the Inkbird temperature controller ended up having a faulty probe. Inkbird kindly sent me another one, and as to the cause of this, well, I asked around and people commented on the video. It seems that the probe may not be waterproof. I asked Inkbird support, they said it was. But anyway, Inkbird sent me another one, and I have tried to set it up so that it is no longer in water the whole time. And I have I've got a nice setup for that. Actually, it's easier if I show you that. So what I've done is I've taken my temperature probe from my Inkbird and duct taped it to the side of the bottle, and then put that in a koozie, and then that lives down here in the fermentation chamber. So I've been testing this out for a little while, and I have my Johnson Controls probe actually in the vodka, in that bottle there, and it's reporting a temperature of 55 Fahrenheit. The Inkbird, which is attached to the outside of the bottle in an insulated koozie, is also reporting 55 Fahrenheit. So now I'm able to get a temperature reading which probably matches roughly the liquid temperature inside my fermentation chamber without getting my temperature probe wet. So this is the unfrozen version of the beer. Let's see what we think. So what do you think, first of all, about look? Now it's in liquid form.
It's really dark, like Coca-Cola dark.
Yes,
yeah.
Super dark. So that's check. That's what we wanted with this beer. Okay, about aroma.
Smell. Okay, I personally, it smells quite yeasty.
Quite yeasty.
Yeasty, like, yeah, it smells a lot like yeast.
It smells, yeah, quite malty, and to me, I really like this smell. The sniffing of it makes me really want to drink it. So can we just move right ahead to that?
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that. Okay, what do you think it tastes like?
Yeah, so to me, you've definitely got that sort of almost like a brown ale taste to it. That sort of strong malty flavor to it.
That's what I taste, the brown ale type, and I also kind of smelt that as well.
Yeah.
So,
but I feel like it's a little bit of a hoppy brown ale, more than say a sort of an English brown. So that's the beer. The fact that it froze and then has defrosted, I don't think has made much of a difference. I think what's going to be interesting is next week's beer, which froze before fermentation started. This one froze after fermentation was complete. So I like to think of it as a very severe cold crash. So we'll see how that one turns out. But I think this one has turned out not too bad.
yeah, it's not bad. I wouldn't mind of trying it as an ice pop though, while it was frozen.
Yeah. Icy beer pop. Well, if the Inkbird goes wrong, we'll be able to try that.
There
okay.
you go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I took a sip that time. Did you see that?
Did you not sip before?
No, you told me off last time.
Oh yeah, you meant to sip after you cheers. I actually like this the more I drink it.